We both have egg on our collective face. Here's my other takeaway. Tell me what you think of this. Rusnak, I really think he's DP level.
It's time to cook. Who cares? The regular season doesn't matter. No result matters. You literally just have this game, and if you win this game, you move on and you take the next game.
Whether or not you raise season ticket prices should be like tangibly correlated to performance. For the people that still think it's like a bum-ass league, I mean, watch a Wilfred Nancy coach team and like tell me that this is not high-level ball. This episode of Lobbing Scorchers is sponsored by Full Pull Wines, a Seattle-based seller. Not only are they a local company, but they've been supporting independent Seattle soccer media since 2011 and are run by Sounders fans. They offer the best boutique wines in the world to members of their mailing list with special focus on their home, the Pacific Northwest. Their model is simple. 1, they email compelling offers. 2, you request bottles that sound appealing. 3, your wine arrives at their Soto warehouse and is ready for pickup or shipping. Their Soto tasting room is also open to the public. If you're interested in joining their mailing list or learning more about them, visit fullpullwines.com. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 57 of Lobbing Scorchers. This is Ari Lilienwall. I got producer Noah here with me. Noah, we have a Leagues Cup dub pod today. How are you feeling?
I mean, I was shocked by the result. I was at the game. I was hoping that Joey Paintsill was going to pop off. And in fact, Ari, we got a little embarrassed.
We did. We both have egg on our collective face as we're set to bring you this unexpected Leagues Cup dub pod. The Seattle Sounders played the LA Galaxy in the round of 32 of the Leagues Cup, a match that we both predicted that they would lose. I think it's fair to say if you go back through the archives of episode 56.
I think that's saying it lightly, Ari, honestly.
Yeah, well, and the Sounders smashed on them 3-1 to advance to the Sweet 16 of this tournament. Fun game. 3 defenders scored. You don't see that every day. The entire back line almost scored, which that would have been a great novelty. I was rooting for the Nuhu goal. They were talking about it a lot on the broadcast, and he actually almost got it. But
I mean, almost also, again, a little bit of a dramatic.
Well, okay, almost by Nuhu standards.
Correct. Okay,
much closer of a shot than he usually hits.
Better than I would do.
Also, I mean, both CBs and the right back scored, so that was a fun little thing. We're going to do our game review where we break down all the fine points of what was really an all-around excellent performance from Seattle to beat LA in this game. We're going to hit our agenda check. We'll take your questions. We're going to continue our coverage of the current saga of the Seattle Sounders season tickets price increase. And then later on, we're going to talk about Seattle's upcoming matchup tomorrow against Pumas in Leagues Cup and some of the other results from the round of 32 that caught our eye. But before we get into all that, I wanted to let you all know Lobbing Scorchers is a part of the Sounder at Heart podcast network. If you want to get the best independent Seattle soccer coverage, consider supporting us by going to sounderatheart.com/LS. That's sounderatheart.com/LS. Scroll down to subscribe and support to get 30 days completely free. Every sign up through our link helps support and grow this show. We have 3 new subs to thank this week, and as we usually do, I'm going to read out all of the names of our subscribers because we love and appreciate you all that much.
I think we could build a full roster.
We're getting to that point. Yeah. 26 subs. Kenneth Wade, Joey Pasquinelli, David McCoy, Owen Mason, Dan Pavato, Samuel Fout, Ian Mitchell, Christopher Smith, Norm Bontier, Thomas Martin, Greg Hoker, Chris Maley, Andy Hill, Mike Lentini, Nate Bontier, David Rodriguez, my nephews, CJ and Miles Marinakis, Mark Ottinger, Zach Heckman, David Pope, Brian Morton, Claire Berger, and then our 3 new subs, Robert Sink, Tyler Nakatsu, and Brennan Murphy. Thank you all so much.
Wow,
we really
love
appreciate you. And if you would like to join the ranks of our supporters, sounderatheart.com/LS. Also, if you're listening to this and you haven't done so yet, subscribe to the Lobbing Scorchers YouTube. Noah, the drive to 350 is alive and well. We are at about 343 subs on YouTube. And we also did our first video pod in our last show for the YouTube, and it actually did quite well. We racked quite a few views on that, so we really appreciate anyone from the new audience of YouTube that might be tuning in that don't know us that well. Help us on the drive to 350, and then once we hit the drive to 350, we can do the drive to 400 together. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know for a fact there's at least 7 of you out there that are listening to this that haven't subbed yet to the Lobbing Scorchers YouTube. So Noah, did you have one more thing you wanted to promote before we get into this game review?
One more thing, folks. If you want to come and hang out with us and the rest of the Sounder at Heart staff, there will be a really fun event commemorating the 1-year anniversary of Sounder at Heart being an independent soccer media, blog, family,
media outlet,
all of those things. That's going to be at 7 p.m. on the 22nd. There will be more details on where to get your tickets. It's a ticketed event, but the tickets I think are only like $10. There will be a live recording of Nos Arietes, and we will be there. So feel free to bring us gifts of Paul Rothrock jerseys. But again, in the description, we will drop a link to tickets as well as a link to all the rest of the info there. Come one, come all. Should be a really fun time.
Come hang out with us on August 22nd. We always like to meet our listeners and talk some ball, and just geek out on our shared obsession, which is the Seattle Sounders and MLS. All right, enough of that housekeeping. Let's get into this game review. Does that sound good?
Let's do it.
We're going to start, as always, with our lineup reaction. It was about as first choice as it gets, which I think is to be expected in a game like this. I mean, you had Paul Rothrock starting,
Superstar.
so that's how you know that it's first choice. But you had the Rusnak-Morris duo. You had Christian at right mid, which it seems like that seems to be the first choice setup right now. He had been experimented with at right back a little bit, but he was back at right mid for this game again. The Obed and JP double pivot, and then your first choice back line with Andy T in goal. So they're still rotating Andy T in there. But the first choice back line turned out to be a very significant thing in this game, pretty much from the jump. Going into this game, I think we had concerns about this matchup, to put it lightly, primarily because, the LA Galaxy, they've been one of the best teams in MLS all year, and specifically, they have a very dynamic, very productive attack that is very lethal in transition with some of the, you have the best facilitator in the league for my money, excluding a certain player at Inter Miami, best facilitator in the league for my money, Ricky Puig, and you have, what I think is the best winger duo in the league right now in Joey Paints and Gabriel Peck. So Seattle's defense and the Obed JP double pivot was going to have its work cut out for them in this game. And I think we understandably both had concerns and reservations as to whether Seattle, as currently constituted, coming off a couple of tough results in recent weeks, both at home, against LAFC and Club Necaxa. I was not sure if they were up for hanging with a team like this, but I think we might have underestimated two things, and I'm actually going to get to those in my takeaways. But if you look at how this game panned out, it did not pan out how we thought it would at all. Seattle scored 2 set-piece goals in the first 7 minutes of the game, both by center backs.
Crazy.
Which is, you just don't really see that every day. But the key on both of these goals was the set piece delivery by Albert Rusnak, who is still just locked in on these free kicks and these corner kicks. The delivery, especially, they were both excellently delivered set pieces, but the first one to Yamar, you cannot lay that in any better. And Yamar, there was a lot of talk on the broadcast about how poorly both of these goals were defended. And I think the Galaxy definitely could have done better to prevent these chances from getting on target. But it's also, you have to give Seattle credit for the execution on that. You have to give Rusnak credit for continuing to be dead eye with these free kicks, and you have to give Yamar credit for his body positioning and being able to go up and beat his defender and then get the shot on target and score the goal.
And another thing we had talked about too was that lack of conscious defending from the LA Galaxy, that they love to ship goals. So
exactly,
it was not necessarily a shock that we scored.
Exactly, and I will say, to be fair to us, we did bring that up and point that out, which is that when we were talking about the avenues that Seattle did have to be competitive and to win this game, it was the fact that the LA Galaxy, they still, not as much anymore, but they still love to concede goals at really inopportune times. And that really just came to the surface from the very start of the game. This looked like the LA Galaxy of the last 3 or 4 years, and not as much the LA Galaxy of this year. That sequence that we saw where they gave up 2 set-piece goals in the first 7 minutes of the game,
Nuhu,
which is honestly criminal. That that's like what the LA Galaxy have been for the last 3 or 4 years leading up to this. They would do that every game. They had kind of gotten that out of their system, hadn't done that as much this year, but they still do it sometimes, and they did it in this game twice in the first 7 minutes of the game, both to center backs. The second goal was just a couple minutes after that Yamar opener, and this time it was another perfect corner kick from Rusnak that Jordan Morris this time headed off John McCarthy's face, which when I saw it live, I didn't realize that it smashed off his face. But if you watch the replay, it's pretty funny because Jordan wins the header and he hits it right at John McCarthy, and he's kind of just standing there with his arms out, and he has no chance to react, and it hits him in the face, and you can tell that he's just pretty stunned. I don't think in the direct aftermath of taking that hit to the face, he had much of a chance to like collect himself and react to anything that happened. But fortunately for Seattle, the deflection went right to the path of Jackson Reagan. All he had to do was stick his leg out, puts the shot off the top of the crossbar and into the net for 2-0, 7 minutes into the game. Now at that point, I don't know about you, but I was almost feeling like, all right, like obviously it's great to have a 2-0 lead 7 minutes into the game, but it almost felt like too early. Well, not too early, but it's just like the Galaxy have so much time. It's one of the most dynamic offenses in the league. All they really need to do is strike back for one, and then all of a sudden the game is entirely a toss-up again. So I didn't really feel all that comfortable with the 2-0 lead with that much time left on the clock. But again, great game management from Seattle, I thought, for the rest of the first half. The Galaxy really did not get going in that top gear that we talked about on the preview show for the rest of that first half at all. Ricky Puig was doing his thing. Like some of the runs, like his just dribbling and like the way he just sheds defenders and you can't get the ball off him. And then like the passes that he's able to hit, which we saw later in the game, just a very, very talented player. Like I really enjoy watching him. But aside from him, I thought JP and Obed did very well to withstand the pressure that did take place, and the back line did enough. You know, the Galaxy, they had some moments in transition, but nothing, especially in the first half, nothing crazy, I didn't think. And then right before halftime, Seattle gets their third, which this was a fantastic goal. Alex Roldan, assist from his older brother. He lines one up from way outside the area. The bend he got on this one was disgusting. Like John McCarthy laid all the way out. Like he could not have extended out any further, but the shot was just hit so perfectly that he didn't have a chance. And that was really a huge goal, because that when you're able to do that, it gives you a lot more margin for error. Like if you ship one, it's not like all of a sudden an anxiety attack. Like you can actually manage that. And that's what Seattle did in the second half. The second half was a little nervier, but it was really entertaining. Yeah. I would say from about the 70th to the 90th minute was about as much fun as I've had watching a Sounders game all season. And that's because I think up 3-0, like the Galaxy were desperate. So they were just going all out to try and get a goal back that could get them back into the game. And I think the Sounders were kind of feeling themselves a little bit, and they were like, you know what? Like we're up 3 goals. Our game plan going into this game, I would imagine, was try to not get in this like transition back and forth type battle with this team. But I think they were like, you know what? Fuck it. Like we're up 3-0. Like let's have some fun. Let's do some let's play some entertaining ball. And it was really like back and forth, up and down. It was good stuff. Both teams were playing some good ball. The Galaxy, I think they got sucked more into the Galaxy's transition game than they probably should have, given the lead that they have. But the result was some entertaining stuff. And the Galaxy they finally started running their stuff a little bit, a lot more than they did in the first half. Seattle got lucky that the Peck to Yoshida goal didn't count. Mm-hmm. Peck put in a really pretty like unstoppable free kick. All Yoshida had to do was just barely get his head to it. And that really, I mean, that's one of those ones where like he was 0.2 inches offside. Like that really easily could have and should have been a goal for them. And Gabriel Peck was being pretty funny. Like he was really arguing that one should have like counted on video review. He was telling the ref to go review it. But like if you look at the replay, he was definitely offside. And then later on he was I think he like tried to win a penalty and was so he was like there was some dark art stuff going on. But
by any means necessary.
The goal that the Galaxy did get late in the game around like the 82nd minute was so I feel like the Galaxy offense did not kind of live up to the way we talked about it in the preview show. But
100%.
on that specific play, you could see like the type of stuff that this team has been doing all year. That assist by Ricky Puig to find Gabriel Peck, just inch perfect.
I
great
love
assist.
his play, man.
I know this is a pro Ricky Puig.
This is a pro.
pod.
I feel like we're like weirdly pro Galaxy.
We're weirdly.
Like,
I'm definitely weirdly pro Galaxy. But
I think we respect the build and we respect the players that they've been able to like attract
the style of play. Like that. Like just. That just frantic transition, like buzzsaw style of counterattack that they are able to put together. They do. LAFC thinks they're that team. The Galaxy are actually.
Shots fired.
That team. I honestly do. I rate the Galaxy over LAFC, except for the fact that
they just lost as the Sounders.
Well, I mean, it's just the defense, man. If they actually like got like an upper tier MLS defense, they would be so good.
Walker Zimmerman, pick up your phone.
That goal didn't end up mattering. It was too little, too late. Sounders win 3-1, and they're off to face Pumas in the round of 16, which is a rematch of the 2022 CONCACAF Champions League final, which Seattle won
Famously won.
So
I'm excited. I loved Pumas fans. That was such a fun match.
Oh, the
energy was incredible.
Wasn't that when we first met?
I think the first time
final.
We met was the CCL final.
Yeah,
we had known each other
through Twitter, but we never actually met. Yeah.
And we went to the media party.
Yeah, the honestly the vibes that whole weekend of the game that Seattle hosted were incredible. And what this is a little bit of a tangent, but I'm down to go on it. Like what I remember about that is like being at that media mixer and hanging out with everybody and just like the feeling of kind of inevitability that they were going to win.
Yeah.
Like I feel like everyone had that kind of, and so like for that vibe to be there, but like when there's that vibe, you're a little bit uneasy almost. You're like, this feels like too good to be true. Like maybe they're going to lose. And then for them to go out there and just like smash on them and win that tournament the way that they did, that was incredible. That was like kind of like the apex, I think, of this club.
Yeah.
To
jump into the match, be so nervy, Nuhu getting injured, JP getting injured,
yep.
Like all within the first, few minutes, and then Obed coming on. Oh, dude. I'm just saying, I love Pumas. I'm so excited to play them, and I don't know. I think I'm stoked for this game.
I am too, and that was one of my takeaways. But I'll just dish it now. Like this is where I think Leagues Cup starts getting good. We talked about in the group. I think the group stage. The group stage had some fun games for sure, but it was dragging a little bit. The Sounders game specifically, the first one I felt was like definitely like the vibes were off. We talked about that. But now that we're into the knockout stage, you've got Seattle playing Liga MX team, the one that they played to win Champions League. And just like thinking back to my memories of the Leagues Cup run where Seattle made it to the final, this is the time, like the single elimination games where you have the MLS teams that make it this far playing these upper tier Liga MX teams. This is where it gets fun. And I think we're going to see that in not just this game, but like a lot of these knockout stage games where it's really just, tournament soccer, like has a different type of feel to it, whether in MLS, it's the playoffs or CCL Open Cup. Now these single elimination games are, they're pretty fun. And like this matchup in particular, I agree is like, this is the matchup that I want to see. And I think that's another, thing about Leagues Cup that at least I personally enjoy is I enjoy like any platform where I get to see MLS teams go against these Liga MX teams because it's just my own curiosity. Like I like to see how they stack up, and I've talked about before too, like the degree to which I think playing teams like this can raise your level, which I think is something we witnessed with the Sounders.
Yeah, and it creates this budding rivalry between Liga MX teams and MLS teams. That's what we've always, I think, said about the positives of Leagues Cup. Like, people may get on our asses about it, but honestly, if it wasn't being used, if Leagues Cup wasn't being used to diminish the Open Cup, dude, I feel like more people would be in on the drama and the intrigue.
I think there's work to be done with it as far as getting it to a point where fan interest matches up with like what they want from it. But as far as just the principle of like a game like this where we get to see Seattle go up against a Liga MX team like this, like I'm down with it. Like I can't wait to watch this game.
Would you rather have, sorry, I know we're dragging on this Leagues Cup coverage, but would you rather have a single elimination throughout the whole tournament, or like take away the group stage or keep the group stage?
It's a good question. Like based on how the group stage went this year, like I almost feel like single elimination off rip might actually be the play, especially because the group stage felt kind of weird in the sense that like there was teams that got beat like 4-0 and then still advanced. So maybe the answer is more like tweaking the group stage a little bit to make it more high stakes, and like it felt like it was like almost like too easy. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna hit my rapid fire takeaways. You can tell me what you think of these. I mean, the first one's obvious. I mean, our prognostication on this was dead wrong. And, like it didn't play out how I thought it would, how I think either of us thought it would at all. And I mean, I think you have to credit Seattle's defense for that. And really both games they've played the Galaxy this year. I feel like people who listen to this show who only watch Seattle and don't watch the Galaxy probably feel like I'm like on crazy pills because of how much I've talked up their offense. And then both times Seattle has played them, it hasn't looked like that. And I'm just telling you guys, like most other teams that the Galaxy have played this year, and you can see this by where they are on the table, they like it's electric. Like they're going up and down. They're generating really high percentage chances. They're finishing those chances. Ricky Puig is pinging through balls and switches all over the field. Joey Paints and Gabriel Peck, you can look at their stats. These guys have combined for a ton of goal contributions this year. Joey Paints in both games against Seattle this year, done nothing. Gabriel Peck was kind of balling in the second half towards the end. He got the goal. I thought they contained him about as well as you could hope. Ricky Puig, I mean, that guy's really hard to contain, and I think you have to give Seattle's midfield and backline a ton of credit for how they've handled the matchups with this team this year. This is not an easy offense to go up against, and they've tempered it like in a way that I didn't necessarily expect. And I think my other main concern was just like when you look at the firepower that they have, like can Seattle's match up with that? And like when I looked at that matchup, like I saw a number 10 who's in really good form for Seattle and a striker who's been in good form for Seattle. But like I think where I kind of saw the mismatch was when you look at what they have out wide compared to what Seattle has out wide. I mean, you're talking about the best winger duo in the league going up against Paul Rothrock and Christian Roldan, who both, you know, we love both of those players, but like
it's not Gabriel Peck.
It's more like a testament to Joey Paints and Gabriel Peck and just how productive they've been this year, that felt like an advantage for the Galaxy. And so credit to Seattle's defense for neutralizing what has been one of the best, most productive attacks in MLS this year. Here's my other takeaway. Tell me what you think of this. All right. Rusnak is good enough. He is good enough. He needs more help. Like when you look at his delivery and like how he's been running the offense, like he has been cooking. This guy is good. I really think he's DP level. I do. And that's not based just on the small sample size of good form that he's been in the last few weeks. This dates back to like years of watching him when he was on Real Salt Lake. And if you look at like his early days on this team, he was playing out of position. He was not playing as the number 10, as the centerpiece of the offense. And when I just, I don't know, just when I watch how he runs the offense and his attributes as a facilitator, and particularly his set pieces, which are like some of the best in the league this season, or at least like over this last stretch for Seattle. Like, I honestly, the way I feel about it right now, and this could change if things, I reserve the right to change my mind if like things totally tank. But like the way I feel about it right now, I would be like totally fine with them bringing him back as the number 10 next year at least. And think about this. Like, if you gave Rusnak, Joey Paints, and Gabriel Peck and then put Jordan Morris up top, I think that cooks.
Oh, yeah.
I think that cooks. I just think you need more around him in that front four. Like, you need players like to support him, that will push his game to an even higher level. But I really like what I've seen from him this entire last part of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Rothrock can only do so much. We love him. We have sung his praises, but like,
there's the difference between Paul Rothrock and Gabriel Peck.
Right.
Like, there just is.
And that's not to say that Rothrock literally can't contribute on this team or a team going forward. Like, he could be a killer super sub. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm in agreement. Like, I would totally be cool with keeping Rusnak on for another season, especially if there's no ambition to like find a really high priced replacement for him. He's performing. He has the pedigree at this point, I think. And yeah, get some pieces around him. But more than that, like, the issue is clearly not Albert Rusnak as the DP. We debated
That's sort of what
that.
I'm saying.
Yeah, we debated that earlier in the season, and I think there was fair shouts about like the quality of his play at that point. But from what we've seen over, I think, a fair enough amount sample size, he's been probably the best DP on the roster.
I mean, yeah, easily. But like, I guess as far as like, allocating resources to finding like supposedly a higher level number 10, like, I personally would rather see the resources allocated to, like I said, like wide players that can support him and Jordan, which I think is, they've been a very productive duo. And again, like Seattle won this game on set pieces, and like his delivery was just, it's been incredible, honestly, the last few weeks. My other takeaway, the Galaxy are still the Galaxy. We talked about it a little bit, but there are two factors that I think, thinking back to the preview show, I didn't take enough into account. The extent to which they're still the Galaxy. The Galaxy, they love to concede goals, ill-timed goals. But then the other factor that I didn't take into account was just like how poorly historically they've performed in Seattle. They were showing that record on the broadcast, and I hadn't thought about that, but like that is like a very true trend. They pretty much, it's like they're 0-5-2 or something in their last 7 trips here. And I don't know like what the reasoning behind that is. But that's a trend that's dated back a long time that I didn't take into account. And like when you combine, I guess, just that history with the fact that this is still a defense that is prone to unfortunate lapses, you get the result that we saw in this game. And then my last takeaway, I already said it, but I think this is where this tournament is going to pick up. These single elimination games against these Liga MX teams, they should be fun to watch, and I'm looking forward to this game.
Yeah, me too. I'm stoked. Rematch time,
exactly.
We better be in the game. Let's go win a trophy.
Yeah, I mean they're in contention for 2 trophies right now between this tournament and Open Cup, obviously, and then they're also in playoff position. So for as tough as this season has been at times, like if you look at it, there's a lot to play for. Like these are big games,
which in a sense a little bit scares me, because if you can get to that or be in contention with a bare bones roster, like that scares me a little bit to think that maybe the front office will be like, oh, we're good then. I mean,
I hope they aren't thinking of it like that.
And maybe they're not.
And I think, here's the thing. They're going to have to base that decision on how the rest of this season goes.
True.
Like if you win 2 out of these 3 trophies, I would frankly still want to see them make a move.
Yep.
But I do think if that happens, they're probably going to rationalize like less turnover, which when that time comes, we're going to have to debate whether that's the right approach. Because I do think, say just hypothetically, I don't think this is going to happen, but say they win Leagues Cup and MLS Cup, like the way I think about this roster might change a little bit, even given some of the struggles that we've seen this year.
I mean, they are a tournament team though, like through and through. Brian Schmetzer is a tournament coach. Like you can never write them out.
I know, it's true. I was kind of thinking about that too, just like watching that Galaxy game and how it kind of went against everything I expected. It's like every time, like dating back to really like 2016, every time I've like left them for dead, they kind of do this. They turn it up. Yeah, they like that. They have to like put themselves in a position to like dig out of a hole to get motivated, I guess. All right, let's hit this agenda check. I got 4 written down here. B-Dub, the Bradley Wright Phillips, Sounders are fraudulent and only beat bad teams agenda.
Row.
Diminished. I'm telling you guys, the Galaxy this year have been one of the best teams in the league. So like, you can't really, the talking point of like them beating up on bad competition, that definitely like applies to the most recent part of their league schedule, but not to this game. Like, this is one of the best teams in the league. So they have to kill this agenda. I would say they have to beat like a few more of the upper tier teams and show that they belong in that weight class. But I think for this week, they actually managed to tamp down this agenda a little bit by not just beating this Galaxy team, but kind of beating the brakes off them, like dominating.
Yeah,
them.
no, they shitted on the Galaxy, like respectfully. That was a whomping, and it never at any moment after. Like there was a little bit of nerves, I think, in the first like 20 minutes, just like, oh, are we gonna hold on to this? But I don't know. They whomped on them, and honestly, I watched a little bit of the kind of MLS season pass response or whatever, and BWP, he was singing a little bit of praises to Brian Schmetzer.
What did he say? I didn't see this.
I can't remember exactly. I don't want to misquote him. But he was like, you got to give credit to the Sounders and
all right. So BWP is coming around.
He's coming around.
We got to get him on Lobbing Scorchers.
We got to get him on the pot.
Yeah. The RBW starting over Nuhu agenda, I have that as diminished because like, I've unfortunately like somehow taken on this role as like the Nuhu defender, which I really, I never meant for that to be the role that I've taken on, but like this is the type of game where you see what he brings to the table, and that Schmetz is not like taking crazy pills for starting him. Like when you're going against an attack like this, where you've got the most dynamic winger duo in the league, it's pretty valuable to have a guy who is like athletic and fast enough to keep up with and counter players that are super fast and dynamic and athletic. And like, I think you have to give Nuhu a lot of the credit for how Seattle's defense has been able to handle this Galaxy attack in both the games this year. And just in general, like some of what we've seen from Seattle on defense over the last few weeks has been good, and I think Nuhu he's played a role in that. But like specifically in this game, I mean, I thought he was great. Like he kind of owns Joey Paints, and know that we love Joey Paints. Joey Paints is one of, if not my favorite players in the league.
Open invite for him to come on.
Exactly, but like if it was me making the lineup, I would never start RBW over him in this situation, just like for the reason that we saw play out on the field.
Yeah, I mean, RBW, like we've said, he's young. He needs to make mistakes. That's like a part of his learning process and development. But yeah, you don't put him out to die against literally one of the most pacey, just beautiful wingers I've ever seen in my life. Like this dude, or striker, whatever he's playing. I mean, he would get cooked, and we've seen him get cooked before. I gotta give Nuhu credit. People have also asserted that I'm very anti Nuhu. Maybe I was, maybe I am, but he won the corner that led to one, if not both, of the goals.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, and so I know we always talk about Paul Rothrock set up X, Y, and Z. I know Nuhu is not great in the attack. He isn't. He was never going to score in this game. He was never going to be an attacking threat.
He almost did.
But like,
Watch the shot again. It did not miss by that much.
Okay,
It
from
went
my
over,
angle, it looked like it did.
no,
I'll watch it again.
It went over. It went comfortably over the crossbar, but like not row 27Z
Right. It's
like he
not
normally
normal
does.
Nuhu, yeah.
Like it was actually like not that far from being on target.
Yeah, I kind of want to do a shooting competition with him, like against him. I feel like we are both equally as bad at finishing, but regardless, like, yeah, no, he played incredibly well. Obviously, he's going to he made some mistakes. I think some of those same problems about tracking back and things like that. But like, we didn't lose this game because of Nuhu. In fact, I think that we were in a better position to win this game because of Nuhu. And I agree with you. This agenda diminished.
Yeah. And I will say that like I said, from like kind of the 70th minute on, the Galaxy, they turned it up a little bit, but I mean, they were way behind. And also like there's just an extent to which when you're playing a team like this, that there's going to be spells of the game that are like that. Like what it's about is, absorbing the pressure and just trying to make the chances that they do generate as low percentage as you can. And, maybe getting a little lucky. Like there was definitely a couple plays where I felt like the Galaxy had some pretty good looks, but just missed. But, sometimes that's what it takes, like in a game like this, because you're not going to play this Galaxy team for a full 90 and have them not have their looks. Like they're very good at generating those looks.
Absolutely.
The Christian Roldan at right back agenda, I have that as diminished, just because Alex had a great game in this game, and I don't think it was just the goal, but I do think the goal felt like a little bit like I don't know if statement's the right word, but sort of just like a reminder of like what he can bring to this team. And just the fact that, he's been an above average to sometimes very good starting right back for this team for a lot of the last couple
El
years.
Salvadorian captain, scored internationally as well.
I really think the whole defense was excellent in this game, like in the midfield and the back line. And I think you got to credit Nuhu with that. You got to credit the CBs for that. You got to credit Alex for that. And then also that goal was just, that was one of the sickest goals of the year. So it's not like the agenda's not diminished because of anything like Christian did. It's more just like this was sort of like a resurgent Alex Roldan game, I thought.
Yeah, Alex Roldan's stock is up. It is up. I mean, we talked about how you have to give credit to him mainly because he was a Paul Rothrock type, right? Like when he feels like he's maybe diminishing or he feels like his spot is being taken away, he works his ass off. He does. That's always been the type of player he is. And I think that this game specifically, like, it showed that is still the type of player that he is.
Yeah. Okay, I have a new agenda here, and it's not related to the Sounders, I think as I try to diversify the agenda check, and it occurred to me, like, I can, like, do around MLS agendas, and this is one of those, and it pertains to the Galaxy. This is the Galaxy deserve to be talked about with the MLS Elite agenda, which I have been a primary purveyor of this season. Like, I am higher on this Galaxy team than most. I will say. I think most of the pundits, the pundit class, and the analysts, they have more reservations about their status as a contender than I do because of the concerns with their defense. And I've sort of been downplaying that because I'm like, when you have Ricky Puig, Joey Paints, Gabriel Peck, and Dejan Joveljic when he's healthy, like, you can probably afford to. It's the Inter Miami theory. Yeah. Like, if you just are so insanely good and dynamic and productive on offense, like, you don't really need to play elite defense. Like, you just need to concede a few goals that, like, if you score 3 or 4, you're fine. You win the game anyway, right? So, but I have this agenda as diminished because, As much credit as you do have to give Albert Rusnak and Yamar and Jordan and Jackson Reagan for like that, like, Seattle deserves credit on that. 2 set piece goals within the first 7 minutes of the game is pretty crazy. Like, Greg Vanney had to be like, "What am I watching? Like, how does?" And it's so Galaxy. Like, And it's, I feel disappointed because of how high I've been on them this year and how much they seem to have put like the worst of this stuff behind them, the reputation they fostered. And it just like bubbled way back to the surface in this game to the point where I'm like, okay, you guys still do have like a crazy good offense, a really fun like counterattacking style that few teams in the league can really match. But like, if you put this Galaxy team in a playoff game against like an LAFC or a theoretical like MLS Cup against Columbus or like just any game against one of those like elite upper tier teams like that, I'm probably taking the other team just because I don't trust this Galaxy team to not like concede in really unfortunate and kind of comedic fashion from an outsider. But yeah, that agenda's diminished.
I'm gonna go opposite. I think everyone has a bad game. I still think the Galaxy are elite. I don't think that I would judge their general performance across the board on a tournament game midweek
in a place where they always
turnaround,
struggle.
where they've never been successful. I still think, for my money, I'm putting the Galaxy up against just about any team.
See, I want to believe that, but then I guess I watched too much of them the last 3 or 4 years where like the last 3 or 4 years, like what happened in the Seattle game, that's like what they did every game.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, have you really moved on? Have you changed?
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe that. Like, and you're probably right that I'm putting like too much stock in like an individual game where
on a quick
turnaround, like tournament setting, tough place to travel, tough place to play. All that's true, but I'm also kind of thinking about the Galaxy that I've come to know over the last few years. And when I see a game like that, doubt creeps into my mind. Like, have you really changed? Have you changed to the degree that I've been arguing this year that you've changed? I don't know. We'll see. I would love to be proven wrong because like I could claim validation on like being a purveyor of the Galaxy are elite agenda, but like I guess I'm just saying this gave me a little bit of pause.
Absolutely.
All right, we're gonna jump into some questions now. Thank you to everyone as always who submitted. What we got, Noah?
Ari, this first one comes from me, and I asked you, UNAM reunion at Lumen Field. Are we in championship mode? Are we locked in? Are we in championship mode?
What exactly? So championship mode just means locked in?
It just means like we are in playoff locked in form. Like that classic Sounders. The regular season doesn't dictate anything about playoffs, trophies, anything like that.
I think this game will be like the ultimate tell of that. But it did kind of I think the thoroughness and the dominance of this Galaxy result kind of felt like that, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, because especially like coming off the Necaxa game, which was such a huge dud and such like a kind of a deflating result that, I mean, it definitely took the wind out of our sails.
100%.
Like having a thorough, dominant result over one of the best teams in the league this year like that, it sort of did give you that vibe of like, okay, now it's time. Like we're in the heat of this tournament. We have a chance to make a run. Let's turn it up.
Absolutely. No, I agree. Same thing with Open Cup. I felt that as well. Just, it's time to cook. Who cares? The regular season doesn't matter. No result matters. You literally just have this game, and if you win this game, you move on and you take the next game. Life is fleeting, Ari. This one comes from the Garber Baby, one of my favorite usernames, by the way. Schmetzer deserves his flowers for sticking with Obed despite his struggles last year / the start of this year combined with Josh's emergence, turning into a top player and was immense tonight, at times man-marking Puig. Here's my question from that. Obed Vargas, where are we at with this legend?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great shout, and I think it's a good point that Schmetz really did. Like, he had his injury, and like, I think there was a long stretch of time where, remember, like last year, I was kind of a purveyor of the Atencio over Obed agenda.
Yeah. And
I think it's pretty clear that Obed has broken out like to just like a different level this year where like Atencio just hasn't gotten as much run, I guess, to like compete with it. But that's because of what Obed has done. And like, I don't know, with Obed at this point, I feel like just the question is just how big the bag is going to be. And I do really think, especially because like the big thing that they're hanging on to with like why they're not making as many moves, right, is because of like the salary cap and like they're like the flexibility, and they can't. Well, then like I think if you have an opportunity to sell a player like this on and like reinvest that, like this is your best chance to do that. And as much as I would miss him, I want to see that happen, both for him to see kind of what heights he can really ascend to, and also just what it could mean for like the resources that the team could
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm like, so I feel like he has the opportunity. I was actually talking with one of the people that I play pickup soccer with about this. Funny enough, he had a great take. He was like, I have been looking forward to Obed moving to Liga MX because I think he has such a good opportunity to go play in the Mexican national team. They're in shambles right now. It's like the perfect step for him to like grow his stature, grow his career, and inevitably get to the goal that he wants to be at, which is playing in Europe, playing at a high level. And I'm going to be honest, man, like I'm here more for his career to flourish and succeed than him than him being on the team, frankly. Like I think that that's how everyone should be about this, but
Agreed.
That's where I'm at. This next question comes from Connor Close. At what point do the opt-outers start considering getting tickets to these games?
I mean, I would want to go to this game.
Yeah,
like
same.
this game is going to be it should at least be entertaining, and it's also like there's novelty to like getting to see them play a team like this. Like, you know, a Galaxy game in the knockout. Like, I mean, how many times have we seen Seattle play the Galaxy? Like a million, right?
Yeah.
But like, you know, getting to play Pumas, like you don't see that every day, every season. So, like, I think this game would be worth going to. Like, certainly, like more so than, you know, a group stage or knockout round game against an MLS team that you've played 1,000 times.
Absolutely. This next one also comes from Connor. Different Connor, though. Defense wins championships. Ari, how is our defense looking? There's been a lot of takes flying around about the quality of Jackson Reagan, the quality of Alex Roldan, everything like that. But defense does win championships.
I've never viewed the defense as a particularly big problem or area of need with this team. They've conceded goals at times this year that were very bad and ill-timed for sure. But I the way I look at defense is like the totality of the production, you know, like how many goals are they conceding? Like, are they having games where they're conceding like 3 or 4 goals very often? No. Last year, they were one of the best defensive teams in the league by a lot.
Easily.
I think they might have been the best, like as far as goals conceded, they might have been the best defensive team in the league. And like when I think about the struggles that this team has had this year specifically, and frankly, all of last year too, it's been about the offense. And that's sort of what I was getting at earlier with my Rusnak take is like, if you just add some juice to this front four, specifically out wide, and you boost that around Rusnak and Morris. And, you know, I understand that De La Vega was supposed to be a part of that, but that hasn't happened. So, like, if you were able to actually meaningfully upgrade that area of the field, and then I think JP is another factor where I think you're going to have to evaluate how he finishes out the year and maybe think about, like, trying to make a signing, find an upgrade like at that area of the field. But if you're able to like do those things, like this roster honestly does not feel like as far off to contending that to me than like I might have thought or even said like a few weeks ago. And that's partially because I think the defensive foundation is very solid. Like this team does not, it's not, I don't know. I don't think they concede an inordinate amount of goals or let game states get out of their control that often. The problem is they can't score. They don't score enough goals.
Yeah, no, I agree. I never thought the defense was an issue. And I think you're right to where the team is almost there or it's almost in contention to be there. But it is like the longer you wait, the more time that passes, the more players age, the more things happen, the more you have to renegotiate contracts. And it's like, I'm getting to the point where I'm like, this is all going to stack up and you're going to have a lot of things coming to an end at the same time, or like a lot of personnel questions at the same time. And that's really hard to just, like, Garth is doing it in Atlanta, blew it all up and just decided to sign every insanely talented player on the planet. And LAFC, apparently, with every French player that's ever played. But generally speaking, like, I don't know. But the defense is definitely doing well. That was a total tangent here. This one comes from Soundaboy. Big fan of the multiple goals bit, but how many big opportunities were left unfinished tonight? I can think of at least 4 to 5 off the top of my head. Jordan has had a good run of form minus tonight, but I'm not convinced we're done vastly underperforming XG. Oh, XG.
I definitely agree that there was a couple left on the table for sure. I mean, you can be annoyed by that or be encouraged by that. I think they did get their 3 goals, and I personally, the way I view it is like all you can really do is play good offense and generate high percentage chances, and then there's going to be games where you don't finish those chances and like you underperform your XG. But like if you spam that enough times, like you should get the production to match it. So like it is interesting though, because 2 of the goals came off set pieces and one was like an insane banger that is not like particularly sustainable or repeatable. And then they didn't end up getting one just off like the flow of their offense or on like a counterattack or anything. So I guess I would have loved to see them get a goal or 2 like based off that type of offense. But I mean, it's hard for me to really complain in a game where you score 3 goals. And really, what I was wondering is just like the Apple TV XG. I'm like, sometimes what
is chalk.
What am I looking at? Because okay, so they had Seattle at 3.82, which I was like, okay, that like I felt like by the eye test Seattle played really well on offense, especially like down the stretch of the game, like 70th to 90th minute, like I said. But like 3.82 is like, that's like you're Real Madriding the other team,
yeah.
You know? And I did not really see that. But then I looked at what like other outlets had it at, and they had it more like 1.6 to 1.8. And I'm like, yeah, that makes more sense. So I don't know what Apple TV XG is on.
I'm glad that you agree with me, Ari, that XG is totally a farce and made up, and I will not hear otherwise. It's finishing it out here from Sounder Vibes. Yamar at the 9 when?
I mean, low key, like, that header. It was nice to see him finish that though, because he's had like 2 or 3 at least of those this year where he's won the header, and then like there was one in particular where whatever goalkeeper it was made like an insane save.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see him finally get one, and really like Jackson Reagan, it was he was just cleaning up, but like. It's always nice when you feel like your center backs offer that attribute, and even though it's definitely like a fluke to see them both score within like 3 minutes of each other.
Yeah, I mean it was kind of sick though. I love Yamar. He's so cool.
He's awesome.
He's cool. Well, thank you for your questions.
Thank you as always to everyone who submitted. You can always blow up my mentions with your takes and questions. And apologies, we can't get to everyone, but got to as many as we can. All right, we had a little soapbox that we were going to put in here before we talk about some other Leagues Cup stuff. Noah, you wanted to talk a little bit more about this season ticket story with Sounders. Increasing season ticket prices for everyone. The people are not happy about it. What is the latest there?
Absolutely. Well, a great article that came out on sounderatheart.com. You can get a free 30 days. Go read this full article at sounderatheart.com/LS. Jeremiah wrote extensively about this, reached out to the club. I helped them with a little bit of data collection. We surveyed 250, 260. I think we cut it down to 225 more like real responses to what people's tickets had been raised to, what they were at before. So we wanted to kind of zero in on a big picture of what is actually frustrating people here. So I'm going to read a couple quotes from this article, but again, like I said, you should go read the whole thing. It's super long. It's an amazing article. Thank you, Jeremiah, for doing so much work on this. But we'll start here. While there's still almost a week to go before the renewal deadline on August 16th, the hard numbers weren't made available. The public reaction feels very different this time. And this is all talking about people canceling their season tickets and generally just in dismay, because every year there's an increase and people gripe about it, but generally it's like 3 to 8%, and that's very marginal. That's like, $3 to $8 increase per ticket per game. Since the new prices were formally released on July 31, the volume and level of frustration has seemed louder and more consistent than I've ever heard, according to Jeremiah. Sounder at Heart distributed a survey that got about 225 responses. The reported median price increase was about 15%, which is one of the biggest across-the-board ticket increase in Sounders history. That's an average of $14 per game, or $250 total on average. That's a lot. The Sounders claim the increase comes from them eating a tax increase that they no longer are able to justify paying, and although the Sounders have declined to make anyone available to comment more about the specifics of this, Jeremiah reports that admissions taxes specifically recently increased from 3 to 10%. So they're not lying about that at all, according to government documents, and we all know government documents cannot lie. All of this is set against a backdrop of an overarching sense that the value proposition of having these season tickets has been on a steady decline. I think we can kind of feel that if you're a season ticket holder, just the general amenities around the team's decision to close the upper deck, so there's no longer super cheap tickets, limited and expensive concessions. I know at this last Leagues Cup game, there's kind of like a little local market section up in the back. I think that's what it's called. That was closed. You pay $14 for a single beer, and you can get a case of Rainier for that, I'm pretty sure. And attendance has hitting record lows, and even worse, a lack of transfers. So just to add to specifics on this, the match against RSL was the first time that the Sounders failed to crack 30,000 fans for a league match since 2009, excluding the COVID season where they weren't allowed to, right? If they fail to make a signing in the next few days, which I would say it is pretty much solid now that they will not be making a signing, they will become the first MLS team in at least 10 years to go 3 straight summers without making a signing in the summer. That's what I have. Yeah. So I think generally people's frustration came from a lack of communication from the club, the value of your season tickets seemingly feeling less and less every year as it goes up and up, and generally dropping a very large increase all at once, and just really failing to disclose why. That's where we're at. And personally, I personally canceled my season tickets. I just don't have the money for an extra $250 to go either way. On top of, I buy concessions and I buy extra, Open Cup tickets, Leagues Cup tickets, all of that. I just couldn't really justify it anymore. And that's a personal choice. But I think the bigger issue is that over the past year specifically, the Sounders and the ticket office have done nothing but get kind of bad PR. I remember they charged in full the Leagues Cup run of play on people's cards that were on file accidentally. So I had they didn't fully overdraft my account, but the pending charge overdrafted my account, which was just super annoying. And, the idea and the communication around the fact that there was a potential where if you didn't opt into Leagues Cup, you wouldn't be able to see and secure your seats for the playoffs. So bad communication, people are unhappy with the front office. Ari, all of this combined, where's your head at with this?
Yeah, I'm not the super best person to speak on it as someone who I've never been a season ticket holder. But I do have a take.
Let's hear it.
I have a take here. whether or not you raise season ticket prices should be like tangibly correlated to performance. So you should only be allowed to raise your season ticket prices if you either average 1.8 points per game or higher, or you make the playoffs and you win 2 playoff games. And at that, if you make it to like your conference championship and you make it to MLS Cup, or you're playing at like a Shield level pace all year, then you have a leg to stand on for your product being like at a level where you're like, okay, like we are good, we are relevant, we are contenders. Like if we want to justify this, like we have a reason to. But like what kind of rubs me the wrong way, and like, you know, I mentioned Atlanta United the last time we talked about this, and I don't think Seattle's like in the category of like how much they've struggled on the field with their on-field product. But like Seattle's been like a 1.3 to 1.5-ish points per game team for the last like 1 to 2 years now at this point. Like if you're playing at that level, I think you need to have the like self-awareness and humility that to realize that when you jack up your prices like that, like you're going to get like negative feedback and negative press for that. That's just how it is. Like, I know that like a policy like that would never happen, but I guess what I'm saying is just like in principle, like there's a certain level of contending and relevance that you should have to be at before you even like think about like jacking up how much you're charging people. That's an outside perspective. I've never had season tickets. I came into this scene as like an outsider and fully as like a media member. So like, I don't want to like act like I'm relating to a struggle that I've never experienced. But I do think like in principle, like I said, like there should be a threshold of relevance and like contending that clubs should take into account when they make decisions like this. They are running a business though, so that I realize they never will think about that in this capitalist society that they live in, but they should think about that.
Yeah.
They should think about that.
No, I agree. I think if this price increase had been done at the end of 2022, after they win CCL, I mean, that summer was brutal, to be fair.
But CCL was huge.
But CCL was huge. It was like, I think if I had been a season ticket holder at that point, which I wasn't, I would have easily renewed my. I've been like, dude, I just watched my team do something that no one else could have done.
Right.
I totally understand.
And they were like at the apex of relevance in the league. Like they were the standard bearer. Like if you are at a level where you're considered like a full-on standard bearer, the envy of the league, I still think that season tickets should be affordable, like reasonably priced, but like you at least have like a leg to stand on.
Yeah.
But like when you are middling and not as relevant, like where does the justification come from? This tax thing, that sounds like business jargon that they're like banking on. I don't understand what that means.
Yeah, I mean, there was legitimately a tax increase from 3 to 10% on ambitions taxes, but the club had been absorbing 8% of that. And so 8%, I guess, technically of their, total revenue was just going away immediately. And even though they were increasing prices every year, then it's like, whatever. I understand it, but it's incredibly stupid and incredibly just like when you're not signing anyone, you're an average team at best in the league right now. You are like, yes, you're in contention for Open Cup. That rocks. Now you're kind of almost maybe in contention for Leagues Cup and you're in a playoff spot, but there's a general sense of like the ambition for the club is not there as much as it was in the past. And I mean, yeah, they're sitting in 7th. Like they're right above
1.48.
Yeah. And what you see, at least ambition wise, is less on the team that's on the field and more on like, we opened this amazing performance center and we're taking a sponsor that a lot of people dislike for moral reasons, but it's a lot of money, so we're going to take it. And then, we're going to buy the rain it just seems like from an outside perspective, and again, this is probably not the reason that they're raising these prices, but it could be, is like, oh, this is all just our revenue went down because we made a bunch of investments. So let's just jack up prices and even it out. And then we won't have to like absorb any cost. But I think it's silly because there are a lot of people who have been long-term supporters canceling their tickets. And I think a lot of the newer supporters are probably a little bit less likely, or the middle class, upper class ticket buyers. But it's silly to continue to like hand wave away any of the arguments against this because it's, oh, well, it's the tax thing, and people are like, well, my ticket price still went up 15%. They're like, no. Your ticket price went up like 4%, but the taxes went up 8%. So when you combine it was 13%. It's just silly. Anyway, that's my soapbox. We will continue to track this, but I mean, who knows if the numbers are going to come out and be way worse than they've ever been in the past and the most people ever have canceled, but I don't know. It feels shitty. It feels shitty for sure.
Yeah, I just wish that it just never feels good or right that like people's ability to like attend sporting events or have season tickets should be like that heavily correlated to like if you're rich or not. That's always kind of rubbed me the wrong way, just in principle.
And like, to be fair, I could move seats. I could move from where I'm sitting, which is basically just like to the right of GA. I could move into GA and I could totally afford 2-3 tickets there. But like, that's not how I prefer to watch the game. I like to have a seat. I like to be able to actually see the game, and respect to the people who go into GA, and respect to the people who are like, I can't even afford GA anymore because over the last 5 years, it's doubled or something like that, because those are supposed to be the tickets that are super affordable. They get the young people in, they get people excited to come to those games. And I don't know. I think I don't know exactly how much it was raised between, on average 15%. Raising supporters tickets 15% is crazy. GA supporters tickets 15% is crazy.
It's a lot. And, if you read Jeremiah's article that you referenced, he does talk about how, they do this every year, like to probably lesser extents, but they do this every year. And there's always a negative response that's sort of attributed to a vocal minority. But to read what Jeremiah wrote about it, like it feels like the negative sentiment is like at a higher pitch than it usually is. So
absolutely.
Anyway, like you said, like we know this is important to a lot of you out there, and it's a big issue in the fan base right now. So like Noah said, we'll continue to track it and cover it because it's a big story. All right, we had a couple other things written down here, and then I just had some other leagues cup result quick hitters. What did you have here?
I had I wanted to debut a segment here.
Okay.
Mainly just for those of you who watch us on YouTube, we do cut up stuff into clips, and so I thought this would be a great little YouTube hit here. Okay. I'm going to ask you a question that has been on my mind mainly because I saw some Twitter discussion.
Okay, I'm always down to weigh in on the Twitter discourse.
Exactly. This is your sounding board here. Here's my question here. With all of the massive summer transfers and dominance in Leagues Cup, is MLS showing that it is a top league?
I guess it depends what you mean by top league. Like, I'm not going to get into the game of like being like it's as good as the, EPL, but I've always felt like that debate is like a little pointless in the sense that like people say that it not being as good as the top leagues means that it sucks and is bad. That's never just been my approach to fandom. Like, I don't need it to be a league that's on par in quality as the best leagues in the world to be a fan of it and to be entertained by it. Like, it's still a professional top flight league that has really good, really talented players. I think the thing with MLS, the storyline with MLS has been that the attacking play has improved quite a lot over this last era, to the point where every single week, if you look at the goals of the week compilations, you see these goals that if you saw them in any league, in any of the top leagues, you'd be like, that was a sick goal. The defending lags a little bit behind that. That's why you still get these like funny MLS highlights that are kind of goofy.
The Chicago Fire still exists.
The Chicago Fire still exists. Exactly. So you kind of get both sides of it. But like top league, I don't know, but like I think
top 10,
a solidly good like borderline top 10, probably. Honestly, if we're being like just real about it without being controversial, it's probably not top 5, but between top 5 to 10. I think that's fair. Like that's just the progression that it's gotten to. That's the quality that we've seen injected into the league, and it's not like a hyper elite league, but it's a pretty good professional top flight league. Yeah, that's how I rate it.
Yeah, I was going to say too, like on the note of the growth, I think that's super interesting. Like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we talk about, I mean, people like us who are freaks and so into MLS, we talk about like MLS 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, right? Like the new updates drop. I feel like there has genuinely been, and this is since Messi came to the league, there has been such a massive jump in spending, as well as like ambition in this league, and just general like people want to come to MLS. Like,
yeah, players talk about that all the time. Like, yeah, veteran players and young players alike do talk about that,
which I just think is super interesting.
And I just don't like, for the people that still think it's like a bum ass league. I mean, I don't know how you can like fancy yourself a knowledgeable soccer fan and watch a team like Columbus or LAFC or I mean, Inter Miami is its own category, but like the Galaxy, as we've talked about, I don't know how you could watch them play and like come to any conclusion than like, damn, this is some like really good high level ball that I'm watching. Like, I mean, I think if you like don't agree with that, you're just kind of not being objective, and you're sort of, you have priors that like you just won't let go of, rather than just watch. I don't know, watch a crew game, watch a Wilfred Nancy coach team, and like tell me that this is not high level ball.
Yeah, and speaking of the crew, this is actually where this whole discussion started from.
Segue. Good segue.
I saw someone on Twitter trying to bam on Aiden Morris for an errant pass in the back, which didn't even lead to a goal. Like they were able to recover.
In the championship, right?
Yeah, and so he just signed with a championship team.
Middlesbrough, or something. Could be wrong.
Yeah, and I think what the person had said was, well, that just shows you the difference in quality between the championship and MLS, which I thought was a little bit goofy, because you have players like Jordan Morris who went to the championship on loan to be like kind of a stud for them. I mean, obviously he got injured and didn't play, but also like Daryl DK and Josh Sargent dominated the championship. And those are two players who I would not rate as, if they came to MLS now, like studs or like top of the league.
Well, Daryl DK was kind of a stud.
He was solid, but like that was in a different era.
I think Sargent. I kind of So like Sargent. I don't know. Like I didn't rate Sargent for a long time, but like to my memory, he was eaten in the championship last year. But what I will say to what you're asking is that taking like a single clip, a single play, and trying to like use it to prove a point one way or the other about the quality of any league is just stupid. It's one play. I could find a clip of like a really dumb bad goalkeeping howler in the EPL. I could find 500 of them. Says nothing about like the quality of goalkeeping or defending in the EPL. It's one play. Those plays, that's the game. Those plays happen. So like you have to be making your point based on like an overall impression, and not just taking up clips and putting them on Twitter and being like, Aiden Morris hitting one bad pass is an indictment of like MLS as a league because that's where he came from. That's just bad analysis.
And it was his first competitive match with the club.
Yeah, and also bad passes happen. A lot of players hit bad passes, whether they play in MLS or not. That's part of something that happens in soccer.
Yeah. All right, closing it out on this section here, on the Aiden Morris thing as well. Is MLS becoming, and it's kind of both at the same time, but where would you put the needle, as more towards a farm league or more towards a destination league?
I think it's it's really like it's become a destination league in a lot of ways. Like you still see like whenever LAFC does, or like whenever a team does something like LAFC did with signing Giroud, like that retirement league stuff is still going to be out there. But I think we've reached a point where that's been counterbalanced by a lot of the young players that come here and then have gotten sold on. Like, I mean, you could go back recent years, like with what Atlanta did with Miguel Almiron, or even with what they did with Thiago Almada. Like, I think that's sort of like the point that MLS is at, where it's becoming a bit of a destination league for like younger players like that to kind of have a platform to show what they can do, and then ideally get sold on, and then it's just like a virtuous cycle. And I think with the U22 and stuff, like the league has tried to lean into that a little bit and incentivize teams to sign younger players like that with the hopes that some of them can move on, or maybe some of them just become superstars here. Like either one of those outcomes is a good outcome. So I think it's becoming more and more of a destination league. And I think all you have to do to like realize that is like you listen to the players that come here whenever there's a new signing and they talk about like why they come here. It's stuff like that, like both the quality of the league and like the opportunity that it provides them. And you know, make no mistake, there's still like a long way to go to get the league up to a level where it can be considered a top league. Like I don't think it's like especially close.
It's
to
not
that.
elite.
I just don't really like care about that discussion.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of it, like no matter
same.
what the level is.
Dude, I've been watching since 2008.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I was a fan of it when the level was way worse than this, and I didn't care back then. I definitely don't care now when the level's actually pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And I just thought, and let us know if you enjoyed this convo here, but like,
oh yeah, comment on YouTube.
Drop a comment on YouTube. But this is like,
I feel like
zooming out.
I feel like that's good. I feel like we said some stuff that the YouTube commenters might not.
That's okay.
Anytime you say something positive about the quality of MLS, like you kind of light a fuse. But I feel like nothing that we said should elicit any controversy. But
that's okay. We
can
deal with the hate.
I'll deal with the hate.
We'll take it.
All right. Other Leagues Cup results. It was the Seattle game was pretty good and entertaining, but there was some other so that whole night. The tournament was drunk. It was a really
was on one.
It was on one. So did you see this Miami Toronto game at all? What was going on?
What was going on?
What was going on with that? So Inter Miami is playing without Lionel Messi, and
he's too busy like hanging out with politicians.
They're
certain politicians.
They were bamming on Toronto FC, but so they went up like 2-0 or something, and then they gave up a penalty kick to Toronto. They gave up 3 penalty kicks in the first half. One of them got waved off, but the one that got waved off, I think because it got waved off, the dude got a red card. So they went down to 10, and it ended up like 3-2 in the first half, with both of Toronto's coming on penalty kicks, but then Miami scoring like a couple insane bangers. It was just like my head was spinning watching that half of soccer, between the 5 goals and the red card. And like, how often do you see 2 penalty kick calls in the same half on the same team, let alone 3? I know it got waved back, but it was like, guys, you guys got to calm down.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was just a crazy game. And then Miami ended up winning, even though they played down a man for like most of the game. So that was wild. And then the San Jose Earthquakes, God love them, beat the absolute brakes off Club Necaxa.
Dude, they're cooking.
Yeah. Dude.
Okay, but it's Necaxa too, so
it is. But if the Quakes win Leagues Cup, that would
honestly, I would buy a shirt. I'd buy a Quakes Leagues Cup champion shirt for sure.
But like, yeah, so Club Necaxa, who beat Seattle at home, they lost 5-0 to the Quakes. I don't care what league you play in, MLS, League Mekis, whatever. You know how bad you got to be down. This is the worst team in MLS.
Yeah,
like
they may not even be able to be considered a real team.
Like that's how tough a year the Quakes have had.
They would be bad in the
do.
USL.
But like it's weird because they do have like Christian Espinoza is a good player, and also this Diego Maradona's nephew. He scored a really sick goal in this game. I think he might have scored 2. He scored at least 1 really sick goal. He seems like an actual player.
Yeah, for sure.
But like they have no defense at all. They shut out Club Necaxa, and just seeing the Quakes win by 5 goals is kind of crazy. Columbus looked like Columbus. They beat the Club of Professional Wrestling Enthusiasts Sporting Kansas City 4-0, which
I like the way you wrote it out here. COPWE.
COPWE, Club of Professional Wrestling Enthusiasts. They are out of Leagues Cup. And I mean, my takeaway from that is just that I think, if we're talking about tournament favorites, I think the usual suspects, LAFC, Inter Miami, but like Columbus is right up there. And honestly, man, I really think Columbus on their day, they're as good as anyone. Like they have the best coach in the league. They have one of the best players in the league, really 2 if you factor Diego Rossi in there. I don't know. The more I watch Wilfred Nancy ball, the more I want him to coach the U.S. men's national team.
Don't say that too loud. Don't say that too loud. People will get mad.
I stand by that one. I just like in terms of style and identity, like they're as good as anybody. And then the Colorado Rapids beat a Liga MX team. They beat 2 in a row now. They beat FC Juarez 3-2. That was a pretty crazy game. It was like 3-1 until really late, and FC Juarez got like a late penalty kick, and it was just like a hold on for dear life situation. And Zach Steffen was balling again, and the Rapids are like a little like dark horse here. They've got what they have right now is like vibes and Riz. Like I could tell
they're the Rizzler,
the Colorado Rizzlers.
The Colorado Riz.
They're
Riz
yeah.
pits?
Well, we're gonna have to workshop this.
Well,
but
yeah.
like what I'm saying is that the like there seemed to be like this like kind of like magic and energy about them in the last couple games that I am not used to seeing from the Colorado Rapids. Like Chris Armas, I got to give him credit, man. I did not think he was a good coach. I still don't know if he is a good coach, but like he really seems to have like changed the vibes there. And that's even taking into account the fact that they got boat raced by Portland in the group stage, because like a lot of teams could have like folded on that, and instead they've beat 2 Liga MX teams in a row. So, all right, I think we're going to call it right there for episode 57. We went a little long on this one, I think. So
that's because we love you and we love giving you content.
Appreciate everyone, as always, for tuning in. We love all of our listeners. We love all of our subs. Like, comment, rate, subscribe, 5-star reviews.
Share with Joseph
Share
Paintsel.
with Joey Paints. Sub to the YouTube, sub to the TikTok, what social
SounderAtHeart.com/LS.
SounderAtHeart.com
Meet us at the
/LS.
Sounder at Heart meetup.
Come to the meetup August 22nd, 7 p.m. Until next time, we out.
Peace.